They are shining stars, individuals who reached the pinnacle of glory. Money, fame, and admiration were all within their grasp. But then one day, they chose to let it all go. They walked away from the stage, the spotlight, the worldly acclaim. Why? Because of a calling from God. They abandoned their glamorous lives to pursue a higher mission. And behind each decision lies a tragic circumstance, a spiritual shock, an inner struggle that not everyone can understand. What did they sacrifice to answer that call? Now, follow the spiritual journey of 21 black stars who completely transformed their lives after a moment of awakening. You'll see why, for them, faith became more important than anything else. 21st, George Foreman, the heavyweight champion. Turned pastor for a decade. George Foreman, the world heavyweight boxing champion, is a legend in sports with a world title and resounding victories. In March 1977, in Puerto Rico, Foreman faced a bitter defeat against Jimmy Young. A decisive punch not only knocked him to the canvas, but marked a turning point in his life. In the dim locker room, Foreman suddenly slipped into a trance-like state. It was the moment he felt God's presence, like a beam of light piercing the darkness. He saw visions of death, salvation, and a world free from the brutality of fighting. It wasn't a fleeting hallucination. It was a powerful call from God that Foreman couldn't ignore. When he left that locker room, his mind was no longer that of a boxing champion, but of a man searching for his true purpose in life. No longer craving glory or consumed by brutal matches, Foreman made the shocking decision to retire from his peak boxing career, a choice that defied everything that had brought him wealth and fame. But he had no regrets. He left it all behind to join a small church in Houston, Texas, where he became a pastor, preaching and working with troubled youth. In those days, he wasn't just a preacher, but a beacon of light, guiding lost souls. At the George Foreman Youth Center, he did everything to help impoverished children escape the cycle of violence and poverty. For 10 years, he dedicated himself to this work, shunning the lavish lifestyle of a top boxer, yet finding peace in his soul. Still, God's light couldn't fully extinguish the fighter in him. In 1987, after a decade away, Foreman returned to the ring, but this time not for fame. He came back to prove one thing: no matter where he was, he could still be a winner, not just in sports, but in life. He was no longer just a boxing champion. He became a symbol of resurrection, an inspiration for those who found salvation through faith. 20. Al Green, the radiant soul, star under God's saving light. Al Green, a dazzling star in the world of soul music, created mesmerizing melodies with songs like "Let's Stay Together," making him an icon of romance and love. In the 1970s, he was a staple in the genre, known for his heartfelt ballads. However, beneath the glitz and fame, Green's life hid deep pain. In 1974, at the height of his career, a tragedy struck Al Green. His girlfriend, Mary Woodson, in a fit of rage, attacked him with boiling water, severely burning his body. But that wasn't all. After hurting Green, Mary took her own life in his home. The shock not only caused physical pain, but tore his heart apart. Feelings of helplessness and guilt tormented Green, forcing him to confront profound questions about life and himself. The world he once lived in, filled with stage lights and applause, suddenly felt distant and empty. But when everything seemed to collapse, a new light emerged. That's when Green sat down to pray, seeking solace in faith. In 1976, in a profound spiritual moment, he felt God's call resound powerfully, like a wave washing away his fears. It wasn't just a sense of peace, it was an awakening, an undeniable call. Green realized that secular music, despite bringing fame and adoration, couldn't fill the void in his soul. He felt a powerful urge to change his life's path. With that resolve, Green abandoned everything he had built in his music career. He stepped away from the spotlight of the stage, no longer the sole music star, but a sincere pastor. Green joined the Full Gospel Tabernacle Church in Memphis, where he not only preached, but also composed and performed gospel music. His new songs, like The Lord Will Make a Way, 1980, were no longer love ballads, but praises to God, reflecting his journey toward salvation and solace. Though this decision cost him his place in the soul music world, Al Green never looked back. He found a greater purpose, and through his ministry, he continued to touch hearts, not with sweet lyrics, but with sincerity and unwavering faith. Al Green became a symbol of rebirth, hope, and healing. His story is a vivid testament that a person can rise from pain and find light even in the deepest darkness. 19. Little Richard, the rock and roll legend who gave up fame for God's call. Little Richard, a rock and roll legend, shook the music world with hits like Tutti Frutti and Long Tall Sally. His dazzling career and bold performance style propelled him to the peak of glory. But a strange event in 1957 completely altered his destiny. In the summer of 1957, while touring Australia, Little Richard witnessed an unusual phenomenon in the sky, a blazing fireball streaking across like a meteor. No one else around him saw it, but Richard felt it was no coincidence. It was a sign from God, a warning he couldn't ignore. That night, during a turbulent flight with his performance crew, the plane shook violently. The panic and intense fear left Richard unable to stay calm. This psychological storm convinced him that God was intervening, urging him to change. In the days that followed, Richard couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. Raised in a deeply religious family, his rock and roll career had led him into a reckless lifestyle where fame and parties eroded his soul. His heart felt empty, unable to continue that way. With faith in God's signs, Richard made a drastic choice. He canceled performances and threw his expensive jewelry into a river in Sydney, as if cleansing himself of his past life. The decision wasn't easy, but Richard couldn't resist the call. He enrolled at Oakwood College, a religious school in Alabama, to study theology, embarking on a new chapter. In the years that followed, Little Richard became a pastor, releasing gospel albums like The King of the Gospel Singers, 1962, affirming his faith through sacred music. This shift distanced him from the secular stage and reshaped how the public saw him as an artist torn between fame and faith. Though he later returned to secular music, that period left a lasting image of a legend seeking salvation between light and darkness. 18. Clara Ward, the gospel queen who rejected worldly glory for faith. Clara Ward, a gospel legend, led the Clara Ward Singers, delivering sacred melodies to millions of hearts. With her soul-stirring voice, she conquered both churches and major stages. But few expected that, while the music industry wanted her to reap fame on commercial stages, Clara chose a completely different path. In the late 1950s and early 1960s, the Clara Ward Singers were invited to perform at entertainment clubs and commercial venues. These were golden opportunities. Lucrative contracts and performances at upscale clubs could have led to a shift to secular music, boosting fame and income. Yet Clara Ward wasn't swayed. Defying the allure of wealth and fame, she chose a path few dared to take. She rejected those opportunities, refusing to abandon gospel for R&B or other commercial genres. She didn't want to be swept into the whirlwind of glamour. Her reason lay in the steadfast faith she carried from childhood. Raised in a devout family under the strong influence of her mother, Gertrude Ward, who managed the group and emphasized the importance of faith, Clara believed gospel music was not just art, but a way to honor God and spread profound spiritual messages. When the music industry pushed her to pivot to commercial music, she felt conflicted. How could she trade her soul and God's songs for the fleeting satisfaction of material life? She chose to stay true to God's call, dedicating all her energy to performing in churches and religious events. This decision brought financial struggles and limited her fame to religious communities rather than mainstream stardom. But her tireless efforts left a lasting legacy in gospel music. The Clara Ward singer's melodies continue to resonate with generations of artists, including Aretha Franklin, who acknowledged her profound influence. Though she never reached worldly fame, Clara Ward remains an icon, a vivid testament that living true to faith brings true fulfillment. 17. James Cleveland, the gospel king who rejected worldly glory. James Cleveland, the king of gospel, was a founding figure in modern gospel music. With his extraordinary talent, Cleveland created soul-stirring music and a deeply emotive voice. In the 1950s, at the peak of his gospel career, he received countless offers to collaborate with secular artists, opportunities that could have taken his talent beyond gospel to build an empire in mainstream music. Lucrative contracts, performances for millions of fans. But Cleveland rejected them all. He felt secular music would weaken the message he aimed to convey. Throughout his life, Cleveland believed music was not just a career, but a sacred mission to bring light and salvation to his community. This decision stemmed from profound experiences in his life. Growing up in a religious family in Chicago, where he came of age in a church choir, Cleveland always felt God's call. A powerful spiritual experience in his youth, when he first sang in church, solidified his belief that God chose him to serve through gospel music. In a society rife with racism and injustice, he saw his mission not just to sing well, but to uplift the spirit of the Black community. Though rejecting secular music meant he couldn't become an international star like his peers, Cleveland stayed on his path. He founded the National Gospel Conference in 1967, training thousands of gospel musicians and singers, inspiring a new generation. Additionally, he served as a pastor at Cornerstone Institutional Baptist Church in Los Angeles, where he was not only a preacher, but a spiritual leader for the community. Cleveland produced over 100 gospel albums, shaping and advancing the modern gospel music industry. Though he gave up mainstream fame, he revolutionized gospel, taking it from small churches to major stages, becoming an integral part of American music culture. His sacrifice created a lasting legacy, not just in music, but in the spiritual life of the Black community. 16. Andraé Crouch, the gospel musician who rejected pop stardom to serve God. Andraé Crouch, a gospel legend, stood out not only for his innate songwriting talent, but also for his soulful voice, leaving an indelible mark on religious music. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, at the height of his career, Crouch's talent was widely recognized. Record labels urged him to join pop or R&B, where fame and fortune would soar, but Crouch remained unshaken. He felt secular music would distort his life's purpose. He rejected it all. The decision wasn't easy, as he knew a different path could have brought global recognition. But no, Crouch firmly refused fame to preserve his faith. The reason lay deep in his heart. Raised in a pastor's family with his father leading a Church of God in Christ, Crouch was steeped in a religious environment from childhood. Music was not just a passion, but a sacred gift from God, a tool to spread his message. What made him so resolute? A personal experience in his youth awakened his determination. Crouch overcame dyslexia, a challenge many couldn't surmount. In those tough years, he felt God's guidance, as if he were showing him the way. Rejecting secular music was a bold move and a significant sacrifice. Crouch chose gospel, becoming one of the most influential artists in the religious community. His songs, like My Tribute, To God Be the Glory, resonated not only in churches, but in millions of hearts. Yet this path meant forgoing mainstream music fame. Still, Crouch never regretted it. He continued serving at his family's church in Los Angeles, creating music steeped in faith and love for God. Crouch was not just a gospel artist, but an inspiring pastor who touched millions through his music. Though he never became a pop superstar, his legacy in gospel and the religious community is priceless. In the music industry, Andre Crouch's name endures, not through lavish performances, but through songs of praise that echo through time. 15. Marvin Winans. From gospel star to devoted pastor, Marvin Winans, a prominent member of the gospel group, the Winans, had a dazzling career in the 1980s with highly successful albums. But at the peak of their fame, Marvin abruptly left the music path, forgoing chances to become a major R&B or pop star to pursue a sacred mission, becoming a pastor. In the early 1990s, the Winans were at their zenith, their gospel albums widely loved, and offers for R&B and pop collaborations poured in. Record labels wanted them to pivot to reach mainstream audiences. Such potential was a dream for many. But Marvin Winans didn't dream of worldly fame. Despite the rare chance for a breakthrough, he rejected it all. He stepped away from the spotlight, turning his back on R&B and pop to focus on a religious path. He made this choice not from a lack of ambition, but from unwavering faith. Raised in a devout family with parents active in the religious community, gospel music was tied to his faith. The pivotal moment came from a profound spiritual experience. For a month, Marvin had recurring dreams where a radiant light urged him to believe God was calling him to be a spiritual leader. He realized that continuing in secular music would prevent him from fulfilling his sacred mission. So, Marvin left the Winans and founded Perfecting Church in Detroit in 1989. It was a bold move that stalled his music career, but Perfecting Church quickly became a vital religious hub in Detroit, drawing thousands of followers. Marvin Winans became not just a pastor, but a spiritual leader and role model for the Black community amid challenging social times. Though he continued creating gospel music, his role as a pastor redefined his career and life. 14. Donnie McClurkin, leaving the spotlight for a path of salvation. Donnie McClurkin, a gospel music giant, was known for his powerful voice and stellar performances. In the late 1980s, McClurkin rose as a phenomenon, earning countless opportunities to join secular music projects. His talent nearly brought him mainstream glory, but that dazzling career was short-lived. As doors to fame opened, McClurkin stopped short. He rejected it all, not from a lack of ambition, but because of a sacred call. In 1991, he was ordained a pastor, marking a complete shift in his life's direction. The reason wasn't just the trust of the religious community. McClurkin endured a traumatic childhood filled with abuse, family loss, and dark events that led him to seek solace in faith. Those pains were healed by God, and McClurkin believed his life wasn't meant just for singing and earning money. He felt a clear mission to spread gospel and help those suffering, as he once did. With fierce determination, McClurkin abandoned secular music, turning away from the stage's spotlight to heed the sacred call. He founded Perfecting Faith Church in Freeport, New York in 1991, embarking on a new journey as a pastor. The church became not just a place for preaching, but a healing center for wounded souls. No one could deny his profound impact on the gospel and religious communities. He sacrificed a promising music career, a risky choice. But with faith in God, McClurkin succeeded. His album, Live in London and More, 2000, reaffirmed his place in gospel, though he was no longer a mainstream entertainment figure. 13. Joseph Run Simmons, the hip-hop legend who pivoted after a friend's death. Joseph Simmons, known as Run, is one of hip-hop's biggest names, with iconic hits like Walk This Way and It's Tricky as part of Run DMC. But in 2002, a shock rocked the group. Jam Master Jay, Run's close friend, was murdered. The loss was not only a blow to Run DMC, but a devastating hit to Run's soul. Jay's death felt like a sign, a wake-up call about life's fragility. Run felt his world collapse. His musical ambitions suddenly seemed meaningless. The pressures of fame, failed marriages, and financial strain led him to reflect deeply on his life. In this dark period, Run found light. Raised in a strongly religious family, he felt God calling him to a new path to leave his painful past behind. In 2004, Run abandoned his music career, leaving the stage to become a pastor. He was ordained and founded his own religious organization. Though this cost him his hip-hop fame, Run found peace and a new purpose. In the years that followed, Run appeared on the reality show Run's House, sharing his faith and how to live a purposeful life. Though he no longer performed regularly, he occasionally returned to music to spread positive messages of faith. Run's transformation not only changed his life, but influenced the hip-hop community, especially as a role model for young artists blending music and faith. 12th, MC Hammer, the hip-hop star who fell amid financial ruin. MC Hammer, with legendary hits like You Can't Touch This, was a shining star in 1990s hip-hop. But his peak career collapsed in 1996 when he went bankrupt. After that year, Hammer lost not only his wealth, but faced a deep spiritual crisis. Once a man with everything, money, fame, admiration, he now felt only emptiness. Facing massive debt and public criticism, Hammer sank into despair. The overwhelming loss drove him to seek an escape through faith. Raised in a devout family, Hammer was familiar with religious values from childhood. Now, facing ruin, he turned back to what he'd overlooked. One evening, lost in thought, Hammer felt that God was his only refuge. Money no longer mattered. Rich or poor, peace was enough. Immediately, MC Hammer abandoned secular music, which had brought him fame and fortune, to dedicate himself to ministry. Soon after, Hammer founded a church in Oakland, California, and focused on preaching. He also launched the religious TV show MC Hammer and Friends on TBN, sharing his faith and story of personal recovery. His sermons weren't just religious outreach, but advice for those struggling, especially the Black community that had witnessed his earlier success. Though his music career faded, he found a new mission, using his talent and influence to spread positive messages and help others find faith. 11. Kirk Franklin, rejecting R&B fame to serve church music. Kirk Franklin, a towering figure in gospel music, made a major breakthrough in the early 1990s. As his name rose with groundbreaking gospel tracks, opportunities in R&B and pop beckoned. His album Kirk Franklin and the Family, 1993, made him an icon. Major labels wanted him to join the secular music wave, where fame and profits would be limitless. But Franklin rejected it all, even knowing it could diminish his music career. Instead, he doubled down on the deep faith he'd nurtured since childhood. Growing up in a poor area of Fort Worth, Texas, Franklin knew the temptations of street life. He saw friends fall into sin, but church music saved him from a dark path. That escape convinced him God had a greater purpose for his life. As a teenager, he felt music wasn't for self-glory, but for spreading God's message. Faced with a choice between two paths, Franklin chose the less traveled one. He turned religious music into a phenomenon, not only aiding his community, but revolutionizing how young audiences connected with gospel. Albums like What You Lookin' For, 1996, reached millions, giving gospel a fresh, vibrant appeal. Though he missed mainstream pop fame, Franklin stayed true to his faith, continuing his mission as a spiritual leader. For him, the greatest success wasn't hit records, but serving God and helping communities through music. Yolanda Adams, rejecting R&B to uphold faith. By the 1990s, Yolanda Adams became a gospel legend with a powerful, emotive voice. Yet she didn't take the easy path to fame through secular music like many peers. Despite offers from major labels to switch to R&B, where she could have reached career heights, Adams chose her own path, staying committed to gospel and faith. With a strong Christian family foundation, Adams always saw music as a way to connect with God, not a step toward personal glory. Her breakthrough successes, like the album Through the Storm, 1991, brought her closer to millions, but fame didn't blur her calling. She felt God's guidance in dreams, where church bells rang, confirming her path. Not glamorous R&B, but a mission to inspire others through music and sermons. Foregoing major opportunities, Adams hosted the Yolanda Adams Morning Show, where she not only played music, but shared religious messages, enriching listeners' souls. 9. Tina Campbell. From gospel diva to inspiring pastor, Tina Campbell, half of the legendary gospel duo Mary Mary, conquered music heights with hits like Shackles, Praise You. But all that glamour couldn't help her through the deepest crisis of her life. In 2012, as all eyes were on her, Tina faced a crumbling marriage. With her husband Teddy, their family life was no longer a perfect dream. It was the darkest time in Tina's life, leaving her lost and empty despite her shining fame. During that time, seeking salvation at church, she realized she needed to return to faith, abandon fame, and pursue something greater to overcome her pain. Soon after, Tina rejected R&B and pop opportunities, embarking on a path of ministry. She wrote the book, I Need a Day to Pray, in 2015 and hosted religious events, like an evening with Teddy and Tina. After stepping away from the entertainment spotlight, Tina found peace, becoming an inspiration for millions, especially Black women and families on the brink of collapse. 88. Erica Campbell, The Inner Struggle and Faith's Choice. Erica Campbell, the other half of Mary Mary, is a gospel icon with a captivating voice. Her success with albums like Thankful opened many doors, including offers to collaborate with R&B artists, but Erica made a different choice from her peers. Alongside her sister Tina, Erica basked in secular music spotlight but couldn't escape an inner struggle. The pressures of fame and commercializing music began to overshadow her original purpose. In 2013, after deep reflection and feeling she was veering off track, Erica rejected life-changing R&B opportunities to return to serving God. She embraced ministry through her radio show, Get Up Mornings, with Erica Campbell, and released solo gospel albums. The decision cost her the stage's glamour, but marked a powerful transformation. Her album, Help, 2014, not only won awards, but expanded her influence in the religious community. Though Mary Mary continued, Erica stayed committed to her pastoral role, becoming a role model for Black women, a choice few would dare make. 7. Fred Hammond, abandoning R&B fame for faith. Fred Hammond, a gospel music giant and key member of Commissioned, reached career heights with standout hits in the 1980s. But as things soared, Fred took a turn no one expected. In 1991, at his peak, Fred Hammond made a shocking decision. He left Commissioned and declined R&B offers to pursue a completely different path. After surviving a near-fatal illness that no fame or glory could heal, Fred realized true salvation came from within. He founded Face-to-Face Ministries and became a pastor, elevating gospel music to new heights to heal others. Though he gave up wealth-making opportunities, Fred found fulfillment and immense success, connecting with communities through faith. His later albums, especially Pages of Life, 1998, became icons of faith's revival, resonating in churches everywhere. 6. CeCe Winans, shunning temptations for a steadfast faith. Emerging from the spotlight of BeBe and CeCe Winans, CeCe was a gospel standout with a powerful voice. She quickly caught the attention of record labels with tempting offers for R&B and pop. In the late 1980s, at her career's peak, CeCe faced a crossroads. She could have become a mainstream star, reaping money and fame. But one night, reflecting on her secular successes, CeCe found them meaningless. She felt no joy or excitement imagining herself as R, and be or pop royalty. But thinking of church music set her soul free. Choosing to forego glittering opportunities, CeCe pursued her mission, serving God through gospel music. In the early 1990s, she not only made her mark with stellar solo albums, but co-founded Living Word Christian Center. CeCe became a symbol of steadfastness, a woman unmoved by worldly wealth or fame. Though she could have conquered the broader music world, she chose a narrower path, one that led to Grammys and respect in the religious community. 5. BeBe Winans, from R&B star to passionate religious leader. An integral part of BeBe and CeCe Winans, BeBe shone with his songwriting talent and soulful voice. In the late 1980s, golden opportunities from labels to join R&B or pop beckoned. With CeCe, BeBe faced tempting secular music offers that could have made him a superstar. While CeCe made her choice, BeBe hesitated at the crossroads. He respected music for God, but wanted to test how far he could go elsewhere. Then, a moment changed his life. One August afternoon in 1985, as BeBe pondered on his way back from church, a truck veered and crashed toward him. As the windshield shattered inches from his face, a radiant light filled his vision. Miraculously, he suffered only minor injuries. But his instinct told him God had saved him in that moment. Ultimately, he focused on gospel music, pouring his heart into composing, performing, and spreading faith. His solo album, BeBe Winans, 1997, marked a career peak in praising God. Though not widely known in mainstream entertainment, BeBe became a role model in the religious community for young artists pursuing faith. 4. T.D. Jakes, the renowned speaker turned powerful pastor. One of the world's most influential pastors, T.D. Jakes began his career in the 1980s in small churches. His work extended beyond pastoring to media and public speaking. In the 1980s, Jakes had ample opportunities to become a famous speaker or TV personality. But he faced family struggles, particularly his father's death. Before passing, his father's final wish was for Jakes to continue as a pastor, spreading faith to uplift struggling families like their own. After many nights of reflection, Jakes realized his mission wasn't to stand before secular crowds, but to guide those in need, especially the Black community. That decision built a religious empire. The Potter's House, the church he founded, became a gathering place for tens of thousands. From a pastor with local influence, T.D. Jakes became a global icon with messages of hope and healing. 3. Brian Courtney Wilson, the wealthy pharmacist who gave up everything to preach through song. Brian Courtney Wilson, once a promising pharmacist, stunned everyone by abandoning a stable career to pursue gospel music. As a man with a steady job in pharmaceuticals, Wilson had it all: education, money, respect, a bright future. But everything changed in the early 2000s when he brought new gospel CDs to his grandmother. That day, she suffered a sudden heart attack, and fortunately, Wilson was there to save her. He was supposed to be on a business trip that morning, but a strong urge pushed him to visit her immediately with the CDs. Both felt that without those CDs, without Wilson following God's call to visit, they might have lost each other forever. From then on, gospel music, which he loved since childhood, became the only path he wanted to follow. Abandoning his financially secure pharmaceutical career for the challenging world of gospel music was a risky move. But it was when he found his true purpose. With Just Love, 2008, Wilson made the gospel community take notice, proving that sometimes to find life's true meaning, you must let go of what seems safest. 2. Hezekiah Walker. From gospel star to renowned pastor, Hezekiah Walker, a gospel music giant, shocked the music world by rejecting a chance to become an R&B star to pursue a pastoral path. With his standout talent and energetic performances, Walker had offers from top artists and labels. But in 1992, a decision changed everything. Instead of branching into secular music, he chose to become a pastor and founded Love Fellowship Tabernacle in Brooklyn, New York. Living in a poor community, he felt God's clear call to use music and faith to help those struggling, like his own family. The decision wasn't easy, as secular music's glamour vanished and money dwindled. Yet his steadfastness made Love Fellowship Tabernacle a vital religious hub, profoundly impacting the Black community and those seeking salvation through faith. 1. John P. Key, overcoming addiction to lead thousands as a pastor. John P. Key, leader of the New Life Community Choir, is not only a renowned gospel artist, but a symbol of rebirth. He entered the secular music world with burning passion, but as major opportunities arose, darkness loomed. In the late 1980s, as his music career soared, Key fell into the trap of addiction. Years of drugs, alcohol, and unstable nights seemed to kill all hope. But in December 1989, Key nearly died in a drug-fueled car crash. It was his most terrifying experience. In the moment he thought he'd never open his eyes again, the pastor he crashed into pulled him from the wreckage and got him to a hospital. During his hospital days, Key realized how foolish he'd been. He abandoned secular music and chose a harder but brighter path, becoming a pastor. He founded New Life Fellowship Center, which became a haven for thousands struggling, especially with addiction. With his album, Show Up, 1995, Key not only healed himself, but uplifted communities through faith. The stories of these 21 Black stars are clear proof of faith's power. They gave up the world to find peace in the church, a journey not everyone dares to take. Their decisions were far from easy, but they sparked profound changes, not just in their lives, but in the communities they served. Want to learn more about other stars who transformed their lives for faith? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to catch more videos. We'll bring you more fascinating stories behind the spotlight.